Howdy, all Molgus Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright. Just doing a little bit of around the base work at this particular second. I ran out of wood, so I was chopping down some wood so that I can make things. I've already been out and done a little bit of highly successful scavenging today. So hopefully we get back out there and do just as good. I managed to get some new books that were pretty good. Mostly just like buffs to things. And all right, this is what I was trying to do. Was get that out of my inventory. Okay, and then I'm going to need a few more frames. So, I thought today, well, we're going to get out here and do some exploring. But I wanted to talk about, sometimes I have crazy dreams that I remember. I don't often remember my dreams. But when I do remember them, they're almost always some kind of like movie dream. And so last night I had an interesting, to me anyways, movie dream. And man, I'm out of fuel. Maybe I better wait for that gas to cook. So I've been watching Doctor Who, and I've made it to the end of season 2 of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor run, which is like season 12 of the new Doctor Who, which is really just the restart. It's not even a restart. I don't know what to call it. You can't call it the new Doctor Who because it follows the old Doctor Who. It's not a reboot because once again it didn't start over from the beginning. I mean, what do you call it when you pick back up a series after it's been on hiatus for 20 years? I don't know. So whatever you call it, Doctor Who. You know what? I did not look in the trunk of my bike. Whatever you call that. The saddle pack. I don't know what it's called on a motorcycle. Anyways, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I don't think the criticisms leveled against it are accurate. I didn't find it to be weak. I didn't find it to be. I mean, all of Doctor Who has weak moments. It's all kind of corny, you know. It's not like it's designed to be a huge, necessarily extremely thought-provoking show. I read one review of it was like it's not clever, but I mean it's just as clever as any other season of Doctor Who. So I don't know why people are. Well, okay, I feel like people are probably angry at it. The people who do the most complaining. Oh shoot! You know what? I'm also infected, so I need to go back and now get blown up. No, I need to go back and take a. I'm never gonna go exploring here because it's gonna be nighttime by the time I get moving. But I feel like they're probably just angry because they switched the gender of the character from male to female, which I'm not sure how that should even make a difference to a alien creature that shapes changes every time it takes enough damage that it's forced to regenerate. I just don't see it. And uh, anyway, so the spoilers, the final season, the season finale of season 12 has the Doctor in solitary confinement to start, and uh, so to combat boredom, she tells herself a bedtime story. This is important to my dream. She tells herself a bedtime story that starts with the opening sentences of Harry Potter. So I assume she was just going to recite to herself the Harry Potter books. So, what does this have to do with my dream? Also, I have made a dentist appointment because I've got some tooth pain. Right. So last night I dreamed that I had gone to a magic college, but in there, oh, I'm also reading this book. This probably played into it too. I'm reading this book. I'm not sure if I like it or not yet. I haven't gotten to the point where, I mean, it's interesting, but I haven't. The characters are weird, and they're taking a long time to set up these characters, and I feel like I got the gist of it from the opening bit. They should be on their way to an actual story, and we're not quite there yet. Even though I'm like 9 chapters in. And it's a world where some people are mages, and some people are um, tech people. They call them mechanists. And some people are neither. And so the people that are neither are basically, lower beings according to each of these different groups of people. And so the mages are super weird and haven't been explained in a way that I understand yet. Because the main character is not a normal mage. He's weird. Uh, None of the other mages they've had in the show act like he does. So I'm not sure why he acts like he does. It's just, he's weird. I'm not sure where that goes. I was looking around to make sure I wasn't about to climb down into a um, bunker, but I don't see a bunker. Oh, let's hit the top here first. This guy's gonna kill me. Oh, I was wrong. I was wrong. He didn't kill me. The two guys who ran in afterwards killed me. And so, I mean, this also probably plays into my dream last night. So I'm at this college that's got magic involved, but I'm not there as a magic person. I'm there as a tech person. And so I have been brought in as a graduate student who is working on some big tech project that's top secret with the head of the programming computer department people. Bats. I don't use bats. Stealthy sprinting. I'll try to read what that book did. Guy. And so someone else was there that I knew, which was weird because he's not a tech person in real life. Like it was somebody I actually knew, right? Somebody from when I went to high school. that I was friends with back in high school, and he had a cold, just a regular cold, but people were worried that they were going to get something, so I assume this is influenced by COVID. And so, I didn't want to get the cold. I got the cold, and so I had my coat, uh, and in my coat I had medicine related to colds. Benadryl, which I like to take to stop sneezing and sniffles, and cough drops to stop me from coughing. And so I was worried that I'd be taken off the project if somebody found out that I had a cold. And so I was trying to hide it, and the person in charge of the project, who I don't think you ever got a name for him, um, told me that I could hang my coat up. I didn't need it in my workspace, basically. And so I was like, well, there's important stuff in here that I need access to. And they're like, well, you can take it to the security area, and they'll keep it safe for you. And so um, they then led me to the security area, but the security area wasn't straightforward to get to, and we had to go through a bunch of twists and turns. And then once I finally made it to the security area, um, I also needed to go to I think they saw me rubbing my jaw, and so they told me that the college had excellent healthcare, and that included dental. I don't know why that was a thing. I mean, I guess it's for my dream, right? I haven't been to the dentist in a long time. Uh, Mostly it's just me not wanting to call. I hate talking on the phone a lot. And so sometimes it's difficult for me to make appointments because I hate talking on the phone so much, which is weird. I don't know. And so uh, they told me where to go to get to the dental section of the college. And um, it was super convoluted, and I wound up having to like teleport between buildings with magic, and I had to crawl through like. Really? I can't just open that? And and then of course along the way nobody would just tell me where it was at, which is something that happens to me in real life, and it makes me so angry. If I ask a question that needs a simple answer, just give me the simple answer. I don't need some weird convoluted answer. Um, and so then on top of that, everybody needed help. Every person I ran into in the dream needed help. And I mean, like, things were on fire. I had to help put out the fire. People were missing. I had to look for missing people. Stuff like that. And I never did make it to the dentist. It just didn't happen. And then the the my family that I live with here, my family, my sister and her family, I guess, have gone camping this weekend, and so they hired someone to play with the dog because I don't want to play with the dog. Um, I honestly think they should get the dog ready to go with them and train the dog, and then take the dog camping with them. But every time they've got some kind of excuse as to why they cannot take the dog camping with them. And so the dog remains here with me instead. Oh man, this is. I mean, does this lead into a secret room? can't even fit through here. That doesn't help anybody. Oh, it's just this room right here, right? Yeah. And so the neighbor kids are supposed to come over and play with the dog. I mean, the kids. I think the one is gotta be 18 or 19 and engaged. Uh, so I mean, everybody's. I only do 2 ages or 3 ages, I guess. My age, older than me, younger than me. If you're younger than me, you're probably gonna get called a kid. So she's a kid, and anyway, she came over to take the dog out, and he's big and noisy, and so he made a bunch of noise, and I woke up, and that was the end of my dream. So that's my weird dream. I had to put out fires at one point. I had a blanket, and I was attempting to, how you smother fires. So I was doing that, and then that opened a way to crawl space that led through a couple of buildings so that I could get closer to my goal. That nobody would just tell me where it was at. Nobody would just say, "Hey, oh, you just got to go over here to get here." And I was getting angry in the dream because I was just like, "Where is it?" And they're like, "Oh, well, this one time, blah 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 blah." Uh, yep. So, I guess we'll go back to talking a little bit more about Doctor Who. Like I said, I finished season 12 of Doctor Who, which is the newest season that's out. So I've now seen all of the new versions of Doctor Who, the new continuation of Doctor Who. Let's go with that. The problem with Doctor Who is that Doctor Who has been making shows since 1963. The modern Doctor Who follows those shows, like there's part of those shows, which leads to a really interesting thing that I'm probably going to talk about. I found it really interesting, and will be spoilery. And so I don't know what to call the new version because it is a new continuation of Doctor Who. Anyways, so I'm all caught up on the new stuff. I'm not all caught up on the old stuff because of the weirdness of the old stuff. Not that the old shows are any weirder than the new shows, but they lost a lot of the old shows and they've slowly been recovering them from other locations. So, like back when you had to send physical copies of your show to TV stations so they could air them, before the advent of the internet and digital media, things had to go on reel-to-reel tapes. And so some of the really old Doctor Who stuff is still being recovered because they either didn't keep or there was a flood in the vault where they kept that kind of stuff. And so a lot of the old Doctor Who was destroyed, and so they've been finding like copies of old Doctor Who stuff in like flea markets, or someone will have taped the show on a VHS tape, or like I'm pretty sure there's like Brazilian a Brazilian version of the show like was out there, and they got a whole season off of that, or a whole storyline off of that, or they've got the production notes. So I'm not really caught up on all of old Doctor Who because not all of old Doctor Who exists. And so every so often new Doctor Who comes along, and then they've also got radio plays that I don't think I've ever listened to a Doctor Who radio play. So there's lots of versions of Doctor Who out there that I have not managed yet, but I have made it through all the new incarnation of Doctor Who for television now, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect because almost everything you read about the newest version of Doctor Who, people hated it. Because that's the way the internet works. It's either the most vocal people love it or the most vocal people hate it, and that's it. There's no other side to it because the other side doesn't get a lot of play usually on things, and so this is one of those things. And my one friend who talks Doctor Who with me, he hated it because he was told to hate it. He hadn't actually watched it, and so he just kept telling me how awful it was and how they ruined Doctor Who and how they turned it into SJW nonsense. And I have now watched season 12, season 11 and 12, which are the new Doctor that everybody claims to hate. And I liked it. It was good. It was same old Doctor Who. I can only think of 2 points where they maybe gave a little speech about things. Those things being the environment, and but Doctor Who's always had a nod to that. So it's not like it's something new. Uh, it was a little more direct than usual. There was an episode where people were being killed by bacteria, and so the show was about. I mean, it was about how people were being killed by bacteria. That is what the show was about. But they gave a tiny little 20-second speech. I'm pretty sure I gotta get some more grass here. About how Earth is now full of microplastics because the bacteria were attracted to plastic. The aliens involved in the show for that episode, as they um, they had got infected with the bacteria, and so they came to Earth to because Earth is full of microplastics, and so they thought that this would give them a big enough petri dish to study the bacteria in. Oh, I should have unloaded my inventory a little bit better. And that was it. I mean, that was it. The doctor just said basically that the Earth is covered in microplastics and we could do better. I mean, I don't know how that turns into every episode is just too preachy. Because the doctor once mentioned a factual thing about how we now have it's like aluminum and radiation. Those are things that we've added to the environment. It's not preachy. It just is. And then the other one was for a long time now. Maybe even in the old series. I don't remember if it happened in the old series, but in the new series they bring it up a lot, and that is that the Earth got so damaged that humans had to flee Earth. And they never said, and they still really haven't said, what causes the damage. But then they had an episode of in the new Doctor Who where they were on damaged Earth, and it was before Earth got cleaned back up, and simply stated that the food systems had failed during whatever happened, and this led to mass migrations and war. And by the time it was all done, Earth was unlivable. and that people could do better, and that you have to choose between being the best of humanity or the not best of humanity. That was it. There you go. The two preachy moments in Doctor Who. Uh, and they weren't even that big, that long, or anything. So I don't know. I don't know how Doctor Who suddenly became too preachy. Um, it's it's like the dude who asked when GI Joe became so woke. Uh, I'm pretty sure I talked about this story, but I was watching a thing where a guy complained to a dude about how woke GI Joe was and when GI Joe became so woke. I don't know what version of GI Joe the dude was. Well, he was complaining because the new Snake Eyes is Asian in the upcoming Snake Eyes movie, and apparently, in the comic books, Snake Eyes is a uh, white blonde guy who, you know, was in the military and learned Snake Eyesness. um, I don't remember what Snake Eyes looked like in the cartoon. I'm not certain that they ever showed him, and that's my only familiarity with the with Snake Eyes. Is I can't jump here, and so um, so I guess I don't care that the new Snake Eyes is East Asian. I just don't care. I don't think it makes any difference. I can't imagine it's gonna be good. I didn't really enjoy the last GI Joe movie. Um, I thought they did weird things to it, and it wasn't very GI Joe like. Um, like they had some of the same concepts, but it wasn't. It's like the Turtles movie, right? It's in the same concepts, but it wasn't a good version of the Turtles. Um, so, anyways, so Doctor Who, uh, not that preachy. And then uh, then the other article I read talked about how the ratings have fallen, and but the way they wrote the article made me laugh because they were like under the most popular Doctor Who had 8 million viewers when the show was on. Now that's pretty good because according to the article, the show that runs before Doctor Who and the show that runs after Doctor Who are both around 4 to 4.5 million. So 8 million for Doctor Who is impressive because that's a lot of viewers, more than the show before and after. If that's a way you can measure things, because the show before and after are not the same kind of show. So I don't remember what was in there, but it'd be like 8 million people watched Doctor Who, but only 4 million people watched Antiques Roadshow, right? Um, okay, but I mean, Antiques Roadshow is not going to appeal to the same people necessarily who watch Doctor Who. Now, there's obviously going to be overlap. I'm not saying that people who watch Doctor Who won't watch Antiques Roadshow, but I'm saying that the focus of those two shows is different enough that some people are going to go like, I'm watching Doctor Who, and then Doctor Who's over, and they're going to go do something else. This is important because the article stated that the new Doctor Who, who's a woman, which is why they hate it, even though they said in their title, it's not the reason you think. But the reason they hate it is nonsense because most popular Doctor Who was not the Doctor Who before the woman Doctor Who. It was the Doctor before that. And so the Doctor Who before Jodie Whittaker, Peter Capaldi's show dropped in ratings from 8 million to 4 million. But, and this is the important thing, Capaldi's Doctor Who was still being run by the same guy that had run the previous Doctor Who. So when they switched, they got a new showrunner, which everybody was mad about, and they turned Doctor Who into a female, which everybody was mad about. When I say everybody, I don't mean everybody, but I do mean that there are some people who are angry for no reason on both of those accounts. And so all I can figure is those are the reasons they're mad, and it has nothing to do with actual Doctor Who stuff. Only they don't want to come out and say, I'm mad because they switched the person who runs the show to someone else, and I don't like that someone else. And they made my doctor a woman, and I hate it. Because what other reason could it be if you weren't angry about Peter Capaldi as the Doctor under the previous guy, even though he dropped by 4 million people, and the new Doctor has only dropped by like 300,000 from the previous Doctor. And so the shows that take place before and after are more popular than current Doctor Who. But they're still not the same kind of show. So and then the article wanted to drive home how much they hated Doctor Who so much that they said this. They said the show before it has 4 million something viewers, and the show after it has 4 million something viewers. And then the previous Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi, had 4 million viewers. And so therefore, when you add all those numbers together, the new Doctor Who has lost 1 million people. Logic doesn't work that way. That's not how numbers work. So you can compare her version to the Capaldi version and say she's lost about 300,000 viewers. 300,000 people who watch it when it's on originally in that time slot on British television. Let's clarify that. Because that's not how everybody watches it anymore. But that's the statistic they had. So you can't, however, take how many people watched before, how many people watch after, and also count those as lost viewers, because the show before and the show after were not science fiction shows. They weren't children's shows. They weren't entertainment shows necessarily. I mean, obviously people are watching it to be entertained, but they weren't like story-based shows necessarily. I don't remember what was before and what was after. I was just like, those are very weird things to stack together to me. You know, it's like CW, all right? If I go to watch The Flash on CW, I probably then am not going to stick around to watch Riverdale. They're very different kinds of shows. I don't enjoy the kind of show that Riverdale is. I tried. I just didn't like it. However, I would stick around for The Flash because I like superhero stuff. I don't care about weird teen mystery drama, right? Like, I would watch Animaniacs, but I'm not going to stick around for the Scooby-Doo episode afterwards because I don't like Scooby-Doo. It's simple as that. That doesn't mean that Animaniacs lost viewers because I didn't stick around for Scooby-Doo, or vice versa. You know, Scooby-Doo didn't lose the viewership from from the fact that they changed Scooby-Doo to a female Scooby-Doo. I mean, they didn't. I don't know what's going on with Scooby-Doo. Because I watched Animaniacs that I liked, and I didn't watch Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo just didn't have a viewer because I didn't like Scooby-Doo. That's totally different. You can't compare the ratings of one show to the ratings of another show because they're not the same show. So, anyways, so I found all that stuff funny. That you didn't like it because it's a woman, and you blatantly point out that that's not the reason I don't like it. But the fact that you pointed out that that's not the reason you didn't like it makes it abundantly clear that is the reason. And then they go on about how the writing's weaker, didn't see it. How it wasn't as clever, didn't see it. Didn't like the show because the doctor didn't tell people she was from Gallifrey. Not sure what that has to do with anything. Doctor doesn't run around telling people he's from Gallifrey. I mean, it comes up occasionally, and it did come up in the female Doctor. But it's not something that she just goes, "I'm a Gallifreyan. I'm a Gallifreyan. I'm a Gallifreyan." Doesn't happen. It's not something that the Doctor does. So if none of those things fit, then obviously we're back to you don't like it because she's a woman, and you don't like it that they changed. I mean, they didn't change. The dude retired from it. The showrunner. I mean, there's no other explanations left, really, because it's the same kind of stories, the same aliens, and all of that. So I don't know. It was definitely weird to read why people don't like the show after having watched the show. Another thing, and I was really going to try and quit, but my episodes are getting too long, and I want to shorten them back down to 30 minutes. It ain't happening. It ain't happening right now. We were on good par, but now I want to finish what I'm saying here. So the talking to the guy I talked Doctor Who with, he said that people were really angry because they majorly changed the lore, and I can understand that. I had that feeling once before because at one point in the show that I am most familiar with, they had laid out the rules on how Time Lords work. And there's a bad guy in the show called the Master. And so one of the major things in the show is that you get 12 lifetimes. Well, it's not major anymore, but it was major at one point. You get 12 lifetimes, and once those 12 lifetimes are over, you don't regenerate. You're dead. Something they don't die; they get downloaded into a computer, basically. And so that was a major plot point, was how this bad guy was going around and he was killing people and stealing their extra lives so he could remain alive after he had finished his 12. I actually think they took his lives from him. It was a punishment thing. And so I guess in that point they showed that it was an arbitrary number that they had just decided on as a society. And lives could be given or taken away. So I do remember being like, what do you mean there's going to be more than... Well, no, I think I said, of course they're going to circumvent the 12 life rule because the show is popular and they're going to want to continue. And so they did, right? That's a major change in lore. Turns out I was wrong. It's not a major change in lore. The lore changed in an earlier version of the Doctor. That 12 life thing wasn't in the beginning of the show. And so those are the kinds of things that have happened in the new female Doctor Who, is that they went back and they grabbed old episode lore and have reincorporated it into the new Doctor Who. But this old episode lore was from, I guess I could just do All My Garden, was from pre This Is How Gallifreyans Work information. So we knew, I'm pretty sure I already knew the Doctor was an orphan. I'm pretty sure I already knew that. And we knew the Doctor wasn't human. Or no, I'm sorry, wasn't full Gallifreyan. Um, there's supposed to be indications that the Doctor is part human. And so the show says they don't know what the Doctor is. That's the big lore change. The Gallifreyans don't know what the Doctor is because the Doctor was discovered as an orphan and then raised on Gallifrey. And so even the show itself, I feel, was wrong in its statement that when the Doctor said, I didn't grow up on Gallifrey, because clearly the Doctor did grow up on Gallifrey. The Doctor was a child when they were found, and then grew up. And so my friend is like, there's a bunch of stuff in the new season that just everybody's mad because they changed the lore so much. Okay, so what's the lore that got changed? They gave a reason for where regeneration comes from for the Gallifreyans. I mean, I don't remember that ever being a major plot point. So I guess I don't care that they explain where it came from. It can't be, and I did read, people were complaining about how much the lore had changed with the new Doctor and how dare they change the lore, blah blah blah. But it's like the lore in Doctor Who isn't a set in stone thing. It's very, very fluid. Uh, there's been so many versions of the Cybermen, for example, that that you can't say that the one version of the Cyberman is the Cyberman because they keep changing how the Cybermen work. In fact, they stated that every society comes up with a version of the Cybermen because there are multiple versions of the Cybermen. We saw 2 different versions of the Cybermen in Peter Capaldi's run as the Doctor. And so, I mean, there was a slightly different version of the Cybermen in this version. One that cracks me up is Gallifrey has been destroyed multiple times. Gallifrey got destroyed again. Not sure how that makes a difference. Obviously, it could be brought back as it does repeatedly over the course of the show. So I don't know what lore got changed. I think this is the lore that got changed that made everybody mad. They have people, not the show, people have put an arbitrary counting system on the Doctors, stating that William Hartnell is Doctor number 1, and so that makes Jodie Whittaker Doctor number 14. Because David Tennant was Doctor 11. I think that makes they changed numbers on him is what happened. There's an episode where everybody thought Matt Smith was the 11th Doctor, and he's still referred to as the 11th Doctor a lot. But they added another Doctor in there, and so that new Doctor, technically wasn't the Doctor. He was called something else, they said. So he's not the Doctor. So anyways, here's what I got on a big long-winded. Got to finish this episode. There's an old episode of the Doctor of Doctor Who before they established the 12 life and out thing, where they show previous people the Doctor had been. And none of those were people who were on the show. So they already established that the Doctor had been other people than the ones that were listed in the played the Doctor on the show, but it was considered an apocryphal episode because it took place before the establishment of the lore. And so what they did was in the new Doctor Who, they brought back that episode and said it was for real, and that there have been many Doctors before the 13 or 14 Doctors that have been on the show. There have been many Doctors before that. We don't know how many Doctors there have been. And so the Doctor that everybody considers to be Doctor Who #1, William Hartnell, is no longer original Doctor. There have been other Doctors. They just wiped Doctor Who's memory. And so Doctor does not remember previous versions of Doctor Who. And Doctor Who has wiped their own memory on more than one occasion to protect themselves from things. So it's not unheard of. Nothing that happened was something that hadn't previously happened, or wasn't able to be tied to something previous. So even telling me that they hate Doctor Who because of how much the lore has changed also isn't accurate. It's okay. You don't like the Doctor Who, don't like the Doctor. Just stop trying to tell me that I hate the Doctor. Because I didn't. I thought it was great. And then the dude who told me he didn't like the Doctor because of things he had read has now watched a season of the Doctor, and he says, I don't get it either. It was pretty good. There's some weak episodes. Every Doctor's got them, though. And but none of the Doctor was as bad as they try to make it out to be. So I don't know. All right. With that, beware of the small things, lean to the light, and I will talk to you later.